The Mongols understood the power of control over body and mind. They had ways to punish that went beyond simple death. The salt mine scourge was designed to break both. Women accused of hiding information or defying the Khan were placed in pits lined with salt. Their bodies were exposed to the harsh, unyielding crystals. The salt drew moisture, burned the skin, and made every movement agony. Each shift, each breath, reminded them of their helplessness. This was not about speed. It was about endurance, about showing that every action, every secret, every resistance could be punished. Pain was constant. Thirst became a torment that no water could fully ease. Weakness set in slowly. Fear gnawed at the mind as relentlessly as the salt at the body. The method was precise. It left marks, but more importantly, it left an impression, one that cities remembered. The Mongols were sending a message: disobedience would be noticed, and the consequences would be inescapable. Survival in this system was uncertain, suffering was guaranteed, and the shadow of the Khan's power extended beyond the battlefield, into every corner of the conquered lands. The salt mine scourge was not just punishment. It was a tool of fear, a demonstration of the Mongols' control over life itself. And in that fear, they built an empire that no enemy dared challenge. The Mongols' mastery of fear extended beyond individual punishment. They turned human lives into instruments of strategy. The living bridge was one of their most horrifying demonstrations of control and power. During sieges, moats, and deep trenches could halt an army, but the Mongols found a way to use captives themselves as tools. Women were forced into trenches, lying across the mud, the water, and the uneven ground. They became a living foundation. Over them, horses thundered. Siege engines rolled. The weight of armies moved across human bodies as if they were part of the battlefield itself. It was not only the physical agony that terrorized, it was the utter helplessness. Every city that heard of this tactic knew that resistance meant being reduced to a part of the machinery of conquest, crushed not by swords, but by sheer inevitability. The living bridge was not designed to kill immediately. It was designed to terrify, to humiliate, to make populations submit without resistance. Survivors of Mongol conquests carried this horror forward in their stories, and the tale alone was enough to ensure surrender in future campaigns. Through tactics like these, the Mongols expanded not only through force, but through the psychological imprint they left on every city, every village, and every soul they encountered. The living bridge was proof that under the Khan, life itself could be bent to serve the empire, and fear was the strongest weapon in their arsenal. The Mongols had a code for nobles: spilling royal blood was taboo. Yet they still needed a way to punish without violating this superstition. The spine break became their solution. Women of high status were restrained and placed strategically, over a heavy beam, across a threshold, or beneath pressure. The method was swift but merciless. Bones shattered, strength failed, and the body was crushed under weight or force. Death was sudden, but terror lingered. This method was as much about symbolism as execution. It demonstrated that the Mongols could end life while adhering to their own laws of superstition. Entire cities understood that no rank, no wealth, no connection could shield anyone from Mongol authority. The spine break was precise, terrifying, and efficient. It sent a message through both act and legend: under the Khan, control was absolute, and defiance could be punished in ways that were both shocking and unforgettable. The Mongols did not need swords to make their power felt. They had methods that could destroy without a single swing. One of the cruelest was the leather sack. Noblewomen and captives were wrapped tightly in wet animal hides. The hides were heavy, cold, and unyielding. Left under the sun or near a fire, the leather slowly hardened and contracted. The pressure grew relentlessly. It was not immediate, but it was unstoppable. Limbs and ribs were forced into shapes the body was never meant to hold. Each passing hour brought more pain, more terror. Escape was impossible. And even the strongest will could be broken, not by blows, but by relentless, unyielding pressure. This method was about control. About domination. About making entire cities realize that resistance against the Mongols carried consequences far worse than death. The Mongols turned fear into a tool, and the leather sack was one of the sharpest edges of that tool. Some captives were not executed immediately. The Mongols had a way of turning survival itself into a punishment. The iron chest was designed to strip away freedom, comfort, and dignity, piece by piece. Women were placed inside wooden boxes, small enough that they could neither sit nor stand. The openings were minimal, just enough for air, barely enough for food. Days would pass, sometimes weeks. They were given just enough sustenance to survive, trapped in a space too tight to move, too confined to rest. Hunger, discomfort, and isolation became constant companions. The body weakened under constant pressure. The mind began to fray. Every sound outside, horses, soldiers, the bustle of the Mongol camp, served as a reminder that life continued while they remained imprisoned. The decay was slow. The lower body, pressed into the unforgiving wood, would begin to fail. Skin and muscles weakened. Strength disappeared. Yet, the victim remained conscious, alive, watching, feeling the passage of each day like a slow burn. The iron chest was not just a method of punishment. It was a statement. It told others, the Mongols could take control of life itself. Not just death. They could decide how someone lived, how long they suffered, and how the memory of their torment would echo far beyond the walls of a single city. This was cruelty perfected, calculated, inescapable, and it spread fear faster than any army could. The Mongols did not punish only for defiance, they punished for status, for wealth, for pride. The silver molten crown was a method designed to mock and destroy the highborn. Queens, noblewomen, and governors were targeted to send a clear message: no rank could protect you from the Khan. Their jewelry, silver or gold, was melted and used as a weapon. The act was deliberate, symbolic, a statement that their riches were meaningless in the face of Mongol authority. The horror of this method was not in speed, but in the inevitability. It made clear that wealth could be turned into suffering, that privilege could become the instrument of humiliation and fear. Every city, every court, every person who heard of it knew that resistance was not just dangerous, it was meaningless. The silver molten crown was a warning: the Mongols could turn what a person valued most into their undoing. Status, beauty, and power meant nothing. The only truth was the will of the Khan, and those who opposed it learned that lesson in ways the world would never forget. The Mongols' cruelty often blended ingenuity with terror. The human torch was a method designed to use the victim's own environment and body to spread fear. Captive women were wrapped or clothed in garments soaked with animal fat. The Mongols did not rush. Fire was applied carefully, controlled, meant to linger. The flames would consume slowly, sending a warning without immediate death. The intent was clear: suffering became a spectacle, a warning to those who might resist. It demonstrated that the Mongols could manipulate even the elements, turning warmth and protection into instruments of terror. Fear, more than pain, was the weapon. The act left its mark not just on the victim, but on every city and settlement that learned of it. It was a lesson repeated across the steppe: under the Khan, the Mongols could dominate not only life but the very forces of nature. The human torch was not just punishment, it was a message carved into memory, echoing long after the flames were gone. The Mongols understood how to combine nature with fear. In desert or steppe regions, they could turn even the smallest creatures into instruments of terror. Women were buried up to their necks near ant colonies, often with their faces smeared in honey or milk. The insects would swarm, feeding relentlessly. Escape was impossible. The process was slow, unavoidable, and entirely controlled by forces beyond the victim's power. This method was psychological as much as physical. It demonstrated that the Mongols could harness even the natural world to enforce their will. Entire settlements knew that resistance could lead to punishments that manipulated life itself, stripping control from those who dared oppose the Khan. The anthill burial left no question: the Mongols could use ingenuity, strategy, and the environment itself to break bodies and spirits. Their reach extended to every corner of the steppe, and fear became as vast as their empire.